What's good with it in the hood with it? Welcome back to the Collective Clips, where you already know we get it in, right? But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the directions of the dope content I am kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support I'm getting on this channel. We're going up and it's all because of you. Thank you, man. I'm very humbled. So questions get asked and they get answered right here on the Collective Clips. So they asked me a question yesterday. They said, why are you so convinced that Danny Masterson, old Master Baderson himself, will be released on his appeal? And I was pretty convinced, man. I just think that there's big powers behind him. He's going to have the best lawyers. I believe they're going to give him that second look. Now, it's not going to happen right off the bat. It's going to take a little while. But I wanted to answer some of the questions why I was convinced. But then as I started to read and get involved in the case more and look into it, and he might not get out if this shit happens, right? He might stay in there, sit your ass down forever, right? Because look, the reason I was convinced that upon his appeal he'd get out, because most of these stars, most of these people who are of notoriety or have fucking these names, especially these Hollywood actors, comedians like Bill Cosby, individuals like that, they usually get that second look, and upon appeal, their lawyers are pretty prepared. They're tactical, right? They've already got at who they needed to get at. They've manipulated and read over that paperwork several times. And they get action. You know, most regular people, when they go up for their appeal, they're going to try to cite, usually their lawyer wasn't representing them well, or there was a flaw in the court system, and judges hate that shit, right? They usually get shot down. It doesn't even make it to the appeal process. Very rarely does someone get a new trial, and when they do, it doesn't always end too well. Now, there are some cases where people are innocent. They do get that appeal. DNA comes up, things of that nature. And then all of a sudden, ding dong, the vato's dead, right? He's free. But that's very, very rare. It doesn't happen all the time. But I have seen a lot of people, not a lot, but I have seen some people beat their shit on appeal. I once had a celly, and I remember he had an appeal going on. He was like, bro, I got lawyers giving lawyers piggyback rides. I'm good, right? And he did. He beat his case, and I've told that story before, so we're not going to go into that. Let's just say that vato got out. I was still in. I was actually in the hole when he wrote me a letter. He was like, hey, bro, you need anything? I'm out. What? This was just my celly 3 months prior. I was like, fuck, hell yeah, I need some. Show me some salt bots, right? So he shot me a little money, and then that was it. We lost contact. Good dude, though. Solid as fuck. Anyways, when it comes back to Danny Masterson full turn, will he get an appeal granted? I believe so, of course. They're going to give him a second look. He filed an appeal the day of. The day of conviction, appeal filed, right? So that's just the way it went down. So I thought, of course, yeah, he's going to get a lot of action. His lawyers are going to go over with a fine-tooth comb. Everything's going to be good. When he goes back up, I'm sure some of these women, they're going to try to poke holes and find flaws in their stories. If the story even changes up just that much, he's going to have action, right? He's going to get out. Now, people ask me, is he going to get bail while he's out? I don't know how that works in the state of California. If you're convicted already and you're going up for appeal, do you get to bail out? Now, I know Tupac in New York was on bail for his conviction, his sexual deviant conviction. Suge Knight went, paid the milli, bailed him out, and then he made All Eyes on Me, and the rest is history. He didn't make it out of Vegas, right? Or he's in Cuba, whatever you believe, right? But at the end of the day, that's how they rocked over there. I don't know in the state of California if that is the same, if the laws apply, if you can get bail and get to fight it from the streets. I would think not, because he's already convicted, okay? So I hope that answers that. I can only answer it to the best of my capabilities, right? I've never been in that position. I've never appealed shit. I've always been found guilty or took a deal. Facts, right? Never took nothing to the caja, the box, because I was guilty of almost every single thing I ever did. So I just try to get the minimal time. Hey, I pleaded no contest on mostly everything, right? So anyways, this guy will get his appeal. Okay, and I thought, of course, with the lawyer, with the team he's going to put together, with the holes they're going to poke in the stories, and with this big entity or group that's behind him behind the scenes, pay no attention to the man behind the fucking curtain, right? That he would get out. You know, that ultimately his conviction would be overturned and he would get out to pray another day, right? But I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. You would have to actually be the mosquito right there on his fucking ankle bone in the courtroom to hear everything that's going to go on and what's being said. Now, I heard some horrific things so far, or I've read them in the transcripts of his court. And I don't know if you want a man like that walking the streets. He is a predator, right? Certified. You know, that's what it says, and I believe that's what it is. And I don't care about the people that are saying, well, that was 25 years ago. I don't care if it was fucking 259 years ago. He did it, right? He did something. Now, a lot of people don't just come, hey, he did this to me for money. They don't put their reputation, their integrity, their morals, their values, their life on the line to speak on someone who's that powerful in Hollywood or has powerful people behind them. Believe it just doesn't work out like that. So anyways, I started reading, and here's the one thing that I absolutely believe is going to keep his ass sat down, buckled up, car seat, shut up and stop crying in that back seat forever, right? And that's this gun case, this mysterious gun case that I believe the feds might charge him with. Okay, so for those of you that are not put up on game, when he was charged with these rape cases, you know, he's an avid gun collector. We're talking about Danny Masterson, right? So being an avid gun collector, you know, you have a lot of guns. Now, of course, he didn't have a criminal record up to that point. So I'm sure he had his license and he had a lot of different guns. But just like anyone else, once you start buying, they just taste so good when they hit the lips. Once you just start buying something, you know, you start kind of going off. Let me turn this music down one time for mine. It's fucking with my head, right? You start going into the realm of buying illegal firearms or things that aren't actually street legal, but you're like, fuck it, man. You know, I got a license, so I got a license for everything, right? I guess this guy thought he had a license to rape women. But anyway, so he started to accumulate, allegedly, a whole bunch of these, the weapons that were automatic, semi-automatic, things of that nature, things he was not really supposed to have, but who's watching him? Who's looking? So anyways, when he gets, when this case gets brought up and he's this alleged rape case that he's pretty much, I think he did, right? He's locked up for, again, this is my opinion and my opinion only, right? This Vato had to turn over his weaponry, okay? They felt because there was weapons involved in his case that he was no longer, now I don't understand how that goes, why you have to turn your weapons over if you're alleged to have done a crime. Isn't the law innocent until proven guilty, not guilty to proven innocent? But we all know that's bullshit, right? So they made him turn over these weapons. And for a long time, he had over 23 weapons and 9 of them were still out there floating. I've heard 8, I've heard 9, I've heard 10, but I'm going to go in the middle. Let's just say 9 of them were floating around. They were unaccounted for. So, of course, they threatened him. They were going to come raid his pad looking for the weapons. He better come up with these fucking weapons that were registered in his name. And, of course, just before his conviction, he did turn the weapons in, but one of them is missing. Okay. Now, what I believe the prosecutors, the district attorney is going to do is they're going to use that, no pun intended, as ammunition in this case, because I believe they're going to charge him federally for this missing gun. He is liable for this gun. It's in his name. He has to have it, right? The last thing you want to do is have a gun in your name out there on the streets floating around and someone uses it in a commission of a crime, because then you're the one going down for it, Jack. And that's just the way it is. So Mr. Masterson, you know, has a lot going on, okay, with that case. And I believe when he goes up for his appeal, this is going to be brought up. And if he is able to get this overturned, somehow, some way, they work magic and he's able to wiggle, I ultimately believe the feds are going to charge him with this gun case, and they're going to use this in the court of law to make him look bad, to make him look like a flight risk, to make him look like he's covering up the crime, because mysteriously, and this is a trip, this is going to trip you guys out. A lot of people don't know. Here's some knowledge you can't get in college. That one gun that the woman said he pulled out of a nightstand and put it to her dome piece when he was doing the weird shit to her, right, is the actual gun that's missing. Who would have thought that, right? Or that's what they're saying. Now, I itch right here. I don't know if it's the fake jewelry I wear or it's, no, I'm just kidding. I'm a YouTuber. Anyway, so look, it trip out. If he is charged federally, people ask me, will that trump the state charges? No, right? If he's charged federally, that means after he's done doing his state time, he's going to have to go do his fed time. Or if they want, they could send his punk ass to the feds and he could go do that time and then double back and then have to finish his state time. Either way, he's going to sit his ass down somewhere, whether it's in that cushy ass spot right there on CMC East Yard with a whole bunch of old men playing Dungeons and Dragons and sipping fucking Snapple, or it's fucking in the feds, probably in some cushy spot, doing time with some fucking ex-mob member that told on everybody, right? Either way, he's going to do time. So if he does go to his appeal and it is overturned, I believe immediately they'll file these Fed charges to hold him. You know, and so what that means is, say he goes to the courts, he goes through his appeal process, which ain't just overnight. It's going to take a little while for him to even get this date, this court date, and say that he's granted this through the judge for whatever reason. Just because you file an appeal doesn't mean you get an appeal, right? But say he does, and he goes through the shit, right, and it gets overturned. Then they'll immediately rearrest him, take him to the county jail, okay? And now he'll be fighting these federal gun charges. I believe they'll charge him federally. And that's it. He'll have to fight that. Now, of course, do I think that he's going to get this appeal granted and all that? I believe he will get a new trial just because of who he is and because the case is so damn big. But I believe that that gun case that he has in the background is going to be somehow used by the prosecutors to keep his punk ass sat down. I believe they're going to mention it. They're going to try to wiggle it unless his fucking lawyer is able to suppress the evidence and have them where the jury can't hear about that. I believe it's going to be somehow brought in, tied into this, and it's only going to make him look worse. Okay, let's get down to the brass tacks of the bullshit, right? This guy got a hard R on his jacket. He is a rapist. I don't care what anyone says, whether he did it or he didn't. Once he is convicted, stamped, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours, like a Stevie Wonder song, he is considered a rapo and a weirdo. Just look at him. You can't tell with that wild ass fucking hair and them glasses. I mean, I'm not the type to judge people, but fuck, if I ain't never seen a rapo, there one is, right? He just looks like the type of arrogant asshole that would do these types of crimes. And that just doesn't mean because you have money and you're arrogant and you're a Scientologist and all this shit that you're a weirdo like that. But god damn, look at him, right? He just oozes weirdoisms, right? And that's just it. Whatever the case may be, he's getting extra attention. He's getting extra than we'd ever got. When I went to prison, 4-yard, 3-yard, shut the fuck up. Grimiest, dirtiest, where they're stabbing everyone yard. Go. They didn't care. I was just a skinny ass Mexican with a couple 14s tattooed on me. Get the fuck out of here, right? Go do your time and don't cry about it. You know what I mean? Before we send hitters on you. That's the life I lived. That's what I got. But again, I was broke as a joke. Didn't have money like that. Was never on that 70s show, right? Now I'm glad I wasn't, right? But he would have fucked around, tried to touch me, and I'd have fucked around and caught him with the jab flap. So this is the type of things that I had to go through, but he's in a different level. See, he's got money. He's got a big religion behind him. He's got support of stars, Hollywood stars. And these people, they get extra. They're treated different. So I wasn't surprised when he was moved, even as a fucking weirdo or rapo moved to a soft yard to program and do his time. I wasn't surprised because they're going to do whatever they have to do to maintain the integrity of the institution and the safety and security of this dude. Because like I said, I'm sure he was at his lawyer and I'm scared, right? And they got him. Okay, they took care of him. So now he's fucking chilling. I dropped the exclusive yesterday. He's celled up with some fucking old dude fucking playing dominoes. And that's it. So that's what he's going to do. He's going to learn how to play pinochle probably pretty good and really find out what a motherfucking top ramen tastes like. And that's his life. So this appeal process, they asked me another question. How long is it going to take for him to get this appeal? It varies, man. It varies on circumstances and what exactly his lawyer has asked for in the appeal. What exactly are the merits to grant this appeal? See, you don't just fucking automatically, you get the action to get an appeal, but it doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to fucking, you have to have a reasoning. You know, it had to be a juror knew you, or the judge made a fucking call he shouldn't have, or your lawyer misrepresented you, or some evidence was suppressed that shouldn't be, or, you know, new evidence has come up, DNA. It has to be something. And speaking of DNA, right? This is what's always tripped me out in this case. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is a real question. I think a lot of people haven't keyed in on this, right? So I'm going to give you first right here. When these women, because it says in the court documents I read, when these women this alleged act happened, right? I only say alleged because he fucking raped them, right? But I just say alleged because for tax purposes, right? So when fucking this alleged happened, they said that they went and reported this to the authorities. They reported it to the Church of Scientology, but even more so, they reported it to the authorities. In a rape case, isn't there a rape kit? Shouldn't there be some type of DNA, some Dana, right? Shouldn't there be some DNA floating around somewhere with this Vatos Mecos fucking splattered all over the back of her neck? Shouldn't there be something going on here? Were these rape kits administered? Or is this just in the movies, you know? You would think that there'd be some type of DNA to tie him to these women. Now, I understand a lot of these women he was in relationships with, or he worked in close proximity. So, of course, they probably drank and sipped out of the same lemonade cup. I understand that. But still, if a woman's been raped, there would be abrasions. There would be some type of something to say, okay, she's went through some traumatic experience, some trauma. You know, the psychiatrist will say, yeah, I second that emotion, right? There would be some things that they could tie him into this. I didn't see or hear in the trial anything of that nature, things of that nature. More so it was just he said, she said. It was their voices, these collective of women, this gaggle of women against this guy. Now, again, I'm not fucking trying to cover for him. He looks like a weirdo, right? If I ever seen one, but I'm just saying, you know, so maybe they can throw that out there and say, hey, they didn't conduct a rape kit. You know, if my client was so guilty, whatever they used to fucking get this appeal, I absolutely believe he will be granted it. Now, for those that ask me how long is it going to take, and it varies in time, like I said, anywhere from 6 months after his conviction all the way to years. You know, he's going to sit his fucking punk ass right there on that yard, you know what I'm saying, eating Oreos and playing fucking skipper doodle or whatever it is, right? Snickerdoodle. He's going to be eating snickerdoodles, playing skipper doodles. And that's just what it is. For those of you that don't know, all those weirdos, they be doing wormy dogs on the yard and playing skipper doodles. And again, I wanted to say this. People are like, damn, you sure know a lot about that yard from experience. Nah, I only know what you know, right? The only thing is I have a phone and I make that motherfucker wiggle, right? So people call me, I get at people, and I try to bring you the breaking news or the best knowledge I can that I couldn't get in college to you, so that way we have something to talk about. Hey, like and subscribe. That's just what it is. But I believe this gun case is going to sit his punk ass down. I believe that they're going to use that, and that's it, you know? Do I ultimately believe if he is guilty, he needs to sit down forever? We need people like that off the streets because they pose a potential threat to my daughters, my nieces, the safety and security of all women, even men. You know, he might turn Cheeto on us. Remember, he's transitioning allegedly, right? From what the word is on the curb is. You know, I don't know if that's all stopped too. You know, I don't know if he's did the reverse hormone and now his tits shrunk back up because he's safe. But safe he is. You know, he is in an area now, in a medical type facility with the old people where no one's going to fucking touch him on the culo. You know what I mean? If anything, fucking when he's pushing the dudes in the wheelchair, he's going to be fucking trying to do some bad shit. So they need to watch out for him, you know? But that shows you the incentive of being from Hollywood and having money, that he's even able to be placed on this yard with these gentlemen. That's a threat to them. You know what I mean? You got a fucking young raper running around there with a whole bunch of fucking guys fucking, hey, what, here, pill call, right? That ain't a pill, and it's about the size of it, right? And that's it. So anyways, I believe that them gun charges are going to hold him down. Now, of course, someone got at me. They're like, hey, bro, all those guns were turned in. Yes, they were, but one is still missing. And that's all it takes is one. One is better than none, right? And I'm not throwing this out there so the prosecutor can watch it and do something because, man, that'd be dry snitching. And I ain't trying to do all that. I'm just saying I'm only speaking on what I know about and the inconsistencies in the stories of the women, and the inconsistency in his story, you know, is going to grant an appeal. And I believe them gun charges ultimately are going to be his demise. You know, when you're looking at time and you're finding a case and then more shit is piled on top, the jury and the judge, it's tainted. They're going to be like, oh, fuck this fool. I was trying to give him action. Now look, right? Poop butt. So I believe his appeal at the end, now really looking at the case, is going to be denied. And what I mean denied means his shit ain't going to get overturned. I believe this appeal is going to lead to even more bullshit. And we're going to find out more things that we didn't know. These type of individuals, these weirdos with weird cases, don't just do this. Like, you know, they don't just do that. Let me tell you a quick little story since we have time. I've told it before. Let me reiterate it. I was in prison, right? And this weirdo was in another prison. Okay, somehow he was able to work in the kitchen area and facilitate some type of escape plan, right? What they did was several of these guys, and they knew what he was in there for, man. I don't even know why they were working with this weirdo. But I was out of state prison, man. So it was different, man. These chiruos and these weirdos walked on the yards and, you know, get off if you knew. The best thing there was to fucking just stay in your circle and not ask too many questions, right? It's just the way it was. Anyways, so this guy got in a pallet with a whole bunch of milk crates, you know, those gray milk crates, and they would take the old milk jugs, the empty milk jugs, and put them in these milk crates. So he got in the middle of this pallet and they put all these milk crates around him and they wrapped it, cellophaned it up, and he was able to get placed onto the fucking truck, and he left. Now, he was a lifer. He was a weirdo, a rapist that was in there, kind of like Danny Masterson, only a little bit. I mean, he didn't look as ugly as Danny Masterson. Anyways, okay, I'm not here to tell you the details. I'm not Dean Koontz. Anyway, so they put this motherfucker in the milk thing, wrapped him with cellophane. He made it. This fucker made it. He gets out to the streets right there locally at the local dairy plant, right? And is able to get out of there. By this time, they've already done count time. It's all point bulletin. There's a weirdo, on the prowl. So they alert the local neighborhoods. And of course, they're doing an extensive search, right? A manhunt. Now, at this time, I'm in another prison in the hole. I had assault charges. I'm doing 180. So I was doing 6 months in the hole. So I don't even know what's going on, right? Like I said, I'm not hip to that. All I know is some fucking ugly motherfucker comes walking in a couple months later to our hole. I guess he was transferred. Let me tell you what happens. So anyways, this fool makes it out to the streets. And upon getting on the streets, he goes and does some bullshit, right? And this is a cool story, so man, make sure your kids put on earmuffs. So this dude, instead of carjacking someone, stealing a car, doing a rob, whatever he has to do. If I was on the run, I'm trying to fucking come up. I'm going out to Montana, to the mountains, right? Red Dawn, I'm out. So instead of trying to steal a vehicle and get the fuck on, because he knows they're looking for him, this guy sees an apartment complex, sees this young kid, about a 14-year-old kid, and gets at him, is like, hey, who you live with, whatever. And this kid, gullible, doesn't know. He's like, oh, it's just me and my mom. Oh, is it, right? He takes these two people hostage, this woman and this child, and he repeatedly does some Danny Masterson shit to the woman in front of the kid, right? I know it's an ugly story, but it's the truth, right? Then, after he does this for 3 days, doesn't take the money, and it's a despicable piece of shit character, right? Doesn't take the keys to the car, doesn't bounce. Walks his punk ass right back to the prison, knocks on the front door and says, I'm back. Come get me, right? They rearrest him. No one's ever done this in the history. And they lock his ass up and then they transport him to where I'm at in the hole, right? To do some hold time because he's going to have to do a shoot term or whatever, right? And so he's in there and I just see another fucking ugly fucking white dude come in and I don't, I'm not going to bump bacon soda breath on the door. So it's not for me. So anyways, there's a guy who's in there, another white dude. So he hits him up. Hey, brother, where you come from, brother? Got coffee, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm the one that escaped. And so this white dude knows that he's a weirdo, a rapo, right? So he's like, hey, bro, well, what happened? How'd you get caught, right? So he tells us that story, right? That what he did. And everyone's like, what the fuck? This fool's just saying it like he's proud. Like it was the thing to do. And I'm going to say something right now, and I don't condone this. And this is not me, but it's the truth. This is what's going to show you the type of mentality people like Danny Masterson and these other individuals have. When he was asked, the dude asked him, the good solid wood, right? Says, hey, bro, why didn't you fucking take her car and jam, you weirdo? Why didn't you? He said, well, he goes, why didn't you take her money and bounce? He's like, well, she didn't have a whole lot of money, but she sure did have a whole lot of pussy, right? Disgusting, sick, right? That's the mentality of these individuals, man. They don't give a fuck, right? So we got to keep people like that away from the streets. In Danny Masterson's appeal, I honestly full-fledged hope that if he is guilty of these crimes, he sits his fucking punk ass down forever because we don't need people like that on the streets. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming, and remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the strive, the struggle, the struggle, the strive. I will be dropping another video later on, some heat. Make sure that you watch it, man. You're going to like it. It's a good one. I'm going to give you a little precursor right here, a little preview, right? It's some crazy shit I seen in prison. Bang, bang. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle for what I honestly and truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people and providing the best possible content I can right here on YouTube, right? On YouTube. I'm a YouTuber, so you know I'm going to do another video on Danny Masterson. And that's just what it is, man. I appreciate the support of everyone. Thank you guys again. Without you, there's no me, and I appreciate it. I'm humbled. Bang, bang.